Welcome back to the Grand Solar Minimum channel. Today is Wednesday, May 12th, 2021. Hope everyone is having a good week so far. We are almost to the end of the week. Happy hump day. We're at the halfway point. So that's always good stuff, right? All right, let's get to some space weather news because we have quite a bit to talk about here. First, let's address the solar wind speeds. They are elevated at a 505.6 kilometers per second with a density of 3.7. And right now, actually, that is wrong. We do not have any spotless days. In fact, I apologize for that. Missed that one there. Let's put this here. We'll change that, folks. All right, there we go. We do have two sunspots, AR2822 and AR2823. And AR2822 has been quite busy. We had a CME that was hurled towards Earth, and it finally impacted Earth on the early hours of May 12th. The solar storm actually struck approximately around 6:30 UT, setting the stage for a strong geomagnetic storm. And at its peak, the disturbance registered a G3. Now, this is the strongest solar storm on record so far for solar cycle 25. So, impressive because it's been a while since we've seen a G3, and this one might have happened a little faster than we were once predicting. Now, this was from a CME. This was not from solar winds. This was not from a large coronal hole that was bombarding us with highly charged particles. No, this was from a CME that was hurled at us. The reason why this is concerning for me is that we are in a very vulnerable part of orbit right now, and there's a reason why that this CME that wasn't directly thrown at Earth, but the reason why this affected us as a G3 has a lot to do with how weak the magnetosphere is right now. And I'll get into that here as we go into the grandsolarminimum.com. Our TCI, which is the upper atmosphere temperature, is at 6.21. That's still pretty cold. KPNC is sitting at a 3 right now. That's quiet, but we were at a 7. As I mentioned earlier, we had a G3 storm. Again, we have two sunspots, AR2822 and AR2823. That is a sunspot number of 31. So these are average size minimum type solar sunspots. But the fact that we are seeing the G3, we have two active sunspots, and there does appear to be more on the horizon as well. So the sun is waking up. We had a very brief period without sunspots. That was only lasted for 4 days. And we are now starting to see a little bit more activity. Again, usually we see solar storms because we know we have incoming solar wind from a coronal hole. And that's not the case. And this one is from a CME that was hurled towards Earth. And the reason why it impacted us the way it did had a lot to do with how weak our magnetosphere is. Now, cosmic radiation dosage rates are at 8.7 right now. All right, that's a change of 0.6% down. But just a couple of days ago, we've been hovering around 10%. And that's no exaggeration. 10%. That's very high. Especially considering that we're supposed to be upticking. The magnetosphere is supposed to be slightly strengthening each day as we approach the maximum period of solar cycle 25. Which right now is predicted to be just as strong or a little bit weaker than what we saw in solar cycle 24. Again, we won't see the deep effects of a grand solar minimum until solar cycle 26's minimum. But we are already starting to see the declination of output from our star already. We're already seeing things starting to tick down in temperatures. We're already starting to see the magnetosphere weaken even more during solar minimum. So as we approach the next solar minimum after solar max, we will see even a weaker magnetosphere in 2026 and beyond. So right now it's supposed to be strengthening, but we've talked about this. One of the reasons why we know we're still in minimum conditions is because we're still seeing minimum condition type cosmic radiation dosage rates. Now today, 8.7 is actually below the minimum average, and it's starting to show that possibly that the magnetosphere is slightly weakening, or strengthening, I should say. But just yesterday and the day before, we're talking 10%. So just imagine if the magnetosphere slightly strengthened overnight and had a 0.6% increase over the last 2 days. And that's a drop actually, but just think if it would have dropped even more to, let's say if it was in the 9.5%. That's high cosmic radiation. That means the weaker magnetosphere. If it was a 7%, that'd be a stronger magnetosphere. My point I'm trying to make is if we were in the 9%, 10%, that means we would have seen a much weaker magnetosphere, and who knows what that CME could have caused. Maybe it could have triggered a G4, a surprise G4. And why are we vulnerable to these types of situations? Check 1, 2. Are we back? Are we back? Waiting for visual. 1, 2. Are we back? All right. Sorry about that, folks. Thought we had this figured out, but at least we had a quicker fix than we had last time. All right, so we were talking about why this CME's impact was significant, and we are on the weaker side of the solar system right now. The blue lines indicate the weaker connections to the planets from the sun magnetically. There are more planets on this side, so we are seeing a stronger connection from the sun because the sun is focused on this side more, obviously, because there are more connections on this side. So okay, well, folks, I don't know what's going on, but we are back. If I can just kindly explain what is going on. I feel like this is not a problem on my end. This is a problem of information getting out that people don't want you to hear. And perfect example right here. I've been trying to explain to you why this CME was significant. Now, twice we've lost audio, and then we were buffering. Twice. And I'm trying to explain what's going on with this CME and why we had a G3, and my feed gets knocked off again. Yeah. Is it possible the CME? No, the CME is not affecting my broadcast. The truth is affecting my broadcast. Okay? And tonight, I've got some good stuff for you. And we're starting to build momentum as a community. As the community that says that we don't deny climate change. We believe that climate change is natural. And that the sun controls the climate. And that man is not enough of a contributor to affect climate or the amount of CO2 that's in the atmosphere. And that can all be explained through the science of solar forcing. When you are in minimum conditions, we have more nitrogen in the atmosphere, nitrogen in the bedrock. We also have more CO2. Plant growth is off the charts when you have those two combining. All right, trees absorb more CO2 during solar minimum, believe it or not, because of the conditions of our atmosphere. So the wheels are falling off, and every time we go live, every time we fix a problem, another problem happens. And then tonight, I try to explain to you twice about the CME. And I've lost some viewers as well. But here, let's try it again. Third time's a charm. The reason why that we saw a bit of a surprise G3 storm is that we were on the weaker side of the sun's connection. The sun, the majority of the planets are on this side. So the sun concentrates its connections on this side. There's more to concentrate on. There is a weaker connection between the Earth, Mars, and Mercury right now. It was Earth all by itself, and that means the other planets are getting focused over here, and there's just one tiny, magnetic connection out here all by itself. Well, now it's shifting a little bit. Point I'm trying to make is that it's still, we are in a weaker area here, which means a weaker magnetosphere. And right now, this is kind of the time where we got to be alert about solar flares and CMEs, because we are experiencing low magnetic field, and it's not strengthening as quick as we need it to. So if we get another CME or another solar flare, I mean, AR-22 or AR-2822 has already thrown us an M-class 3.9 solar flare, then the CME, and now we have a G3 storm, the first one of the solar cycle 25, and the first one in probably 4 years as well. Maybe there was one in 18, maybe 3. I don't know. I'll have to look that up. It's tough to keep track of all this stuff. But folks, I'm telling you, the truth is getting distorted here. And the CME was a little bit more of a factor because we're still in a zone where the magnetic connection from the sun to Earth is not as strong as it would be if Earth was on this side with these guys hanging out. But it's weaker over here. We're already experiencing a weaker magnetic field because we are in solar minimum, coming out of a solar minimum and moving towards a solar max. And right now, that uptick has been pretty slow. Today has been a little bit different compared to what we've seen so far in solar cycle 24 or 25. There is the KP indice that was up for a few hours at a 7. I mean, just basically smacked us in the mouth today. And like I said, we've had some slight activity from Sunspot AR-2822. Let's take a look at the big picture here, and we have more activity across the southern part of the hemisphere of this star. I don't see... Well, here we go. If this is a sunspot now, that's AR-2823, then this definitely has potential to be the next sunspot, AR-2824. And then watch out back here. Now, this is still about 5 to 7 days away from the eastern limb. Not a factor yet, but remember the last broadcast we were talking about how these might be spaced out to where maybe we just have one sunspot region, and that's what keeps us from being spotless, because we always have one rotating and Earth facing every other few days. Well, check it out. So we have AR 2823. AR 2824 has just pierced the eastern limb and is a good candidate for the next sunspot. And then we have about 4 days behind that. That's right, another potential sunspot region. That one could be AR 2825. These sunspots will continue to rotate away from Earth. And at this point right now, I'd have to say we are seeing a consistent pattern where we should go with a long streak of days with sunspots for quite some time if this pattern continues. Now, solar cycle 25 started somewhere around July of 2020. It has been a slow go, but here in the recent 4 to 6 weeks, we've seen more geomagnetic storms, we've seen more CMEs, we've seen more solar flares that are above C class, and now we have a G3 storm. So this is just basically the beginning of the uptick of this cycle. And again, it really is important that we avoid these types of events while Earth is where it is right now in the orbit, in that blue zone. It is really important that we don't get too many more of these bigger CMEs and whatnot, because we're in an area that we are very vulnerable right now for these kinds of solar flares, CMEs, and everything else involved here. And like I said, if you guys haven't, check out John Casey's Upheaval, and he says in his book from 2017 to 2037 that he is predicting a major volcanic event and also solar storms as well, earthquakes, because of where we are in the grand solar minimum. And this will only continue to get worse. And what else is associated with the sun? And that's right, earthquakes. And we've seen evidence of that today as we got hit earlier with a pretty intense CME. And then we get 2 earthquakes. A 6.7 earthquake hits the Mauritius Reunion region in the Indian Ocean. And then we had, after that, a 5.9 hits the coast of Guatemala and El Salvador. So both of them were shallow, and both of them were moderate to strong. 5.9 and a 6.7. Let's check out USGS. Since then, what have we seen? 5.1 along, not really the same thing, but we've seen a 5.1. The Ring of Fire is definitely lit up. A 5.1. This here in the blue dot. That's the most recent. So that's moderate. Nothing amazing about that. And then one next to it, right before that, 5.1. And then a 5.3 in Indonesia. This is just today. The Pacific, the Western Pacific side of the Ring of Fire has been very active. And also, here is the big one there, the 6.7. And that was earlier as well. Now we have had some aftershocks as well from that region. And then we had a 5.0 in Vanuatu, Port Vila. A 5.5 in Peru, so on the other side of the Ring of Fire, way away, but again, right up against South America as well. Even had a 3.0 earthquake in Marston, Missouri as well. So today has been pretty active with 5s and higher, a couple of 6s, and some stronger earthquakes. And to me, I don't think it's a coincidence. We got smacked by a CME, it jolted through Earth, causing the seismic activity. I can only imagine it probably caused some satellite issues as well for a brief moment. We're going to see some gorgeous aurora. Well, we could have. If it was nighttime, if only it was nighttime, we would have seen auroras in the northern plains, the northern part of the United States. G3s are pretty bright, so anything G4 or more is a good chance most of the people in the northern half of the United States from Tennessee northward could see some aurora action. But G3 not quite as strong to get a clear view, especially when it's daytime, unfortunately. But had this happened at night, this might have had a chance as well. All right, let's move along here to see what else we got. Oh, yeah, severe thunderstorm hits Wuhan, turning day into night. I could not find the timestamp for any of this. So I apologize. This might be debunked. But nonetheless, the weather stats on this is interesting. According to the Wuhan Emergency Management Bureau, of parts of the city encountered a level 10 thunderstorm, which resulted in the deaths of 2 workers who were on a gondola cleaning windows at Sangyang Road. The maximum rain intensity in the urban area reached, get this, 3.9 inches in just 1 hour. This was on May 10th. And this was when also we were getting dosage rates at 10% on cosmic radiation. That's pretty high. The record level amounts is 11.7%. So when you're supposed to be upticking towards a maximum and you're just 1.7% away from record-breaking cosmic radiation dosage rates, well, this is kind of what happens. A region like this had the perfect conditions to absorb these highly charged particles, and it dropped 3.9 inches in 1 hour. That's a lot of people's monthly totals for a month, and it happened in an hour. But anyway, let's check out some of the video here. Some of this is pretty spooky. Let's go to the beginning here. Look at this. Low-lying clouds, common during grand solar minimums. Look at all the artwork from the 1600s during the Maunder minimum. Look at that. That's the rain. You can barely see the buildings. That's how heavy the rain was. Look at the lightning. Wow. Look at that. Wow. I'm going to turn the sound off and we'll watch a little more of this. This is insane. To see that much rain. It's like they're in the middle of a cloud, but that is rainfall. That's how heavy it is. It's blocking sunlight. There was also gusty winds, broke records as well. This was pretty serious stuff here, folks. And I'll try to get more stats for you, but I think the video makes up for the lack of stats. A pretty impressive storm. And again, a lot of that is thanks to, what do you call? Oh, yeah, cosmic radiation. We were fluxed, baby. And when you see that kind of rainfall in 1 hour, 3.9 inches of rain, whew. All right, I'll calm down. And here's some weather news for our friends across the pond. Some of you are looking at this and saying bollocks, and some of you are saying, I hope. But right now, the summer of 2021, well, look at the UK. Not really what I was hoping for, you know. It just doesn't seem like it's going to get real warm. Damp start. Yeah, it rains a lot over there. But right now, you guys are still enduring some pretty brutal cold weather across that region. Now, AccuWeather thinks that we're going to see hot weather in Spain and Portugal, which that's pretty much, you know, Italy as well. And notice only southwestern France. So, becoming drier and hot. In other words, that tells me that AccuWeather says it should become better conditions, because we know right now we're experiencing some pretty crappy weather. And the hope is that it'll turn the corner. But that can't always be the case as far as reality goes. And here is what I really wanted to talk about when it comes to what's happening over in Europe right now. In addition, okay, so normal high temperatures across the region will climb from 19 to 21 degrees Celsius. That's the upper 60s here for us Americans. 21 to 25, that's the mid-70s during the month of June and July. And August temperatures typically begin to trend back towards the upper 60s. So, but this year, they are expected to remain above normal for at least part of the month. Talking in May, I guess. In addition to the heat, this can be the third straight summer with below normal precipitation across France and Germany, as well as into the United Kingdom. This could lead to growing problems for the summer crop, including wheat and corn in France and Germany. In France, much of the wine crop has already been lost due to freezes earlier in April, which right now we're still dealing with colder weather over there. So we got freezes that already hurt the wine crops, and now we're talking about some areas experiencing drier weather but warmer weather as well, which will affect summer corn, summer wheat. Topsy-turvy season right now for the UK and others in Europe. We'll continue to keep our eyes on this as mainstream media is sneaking little bits here and there about the truth, about what to expect, about adapting to some challenges that we're seeing here in the climate. And this is preparing people in France especially. This could be a devastating year for them as far as crops around the season. When you got wineries, and then you talk about becoming hotter and drier. So we could be talking about drought issues across France. So not only are they going to lose out on the wine industry this year, but we're also talking about possibly corn and wheat. You know, right now we don't have a problem with that so far in the U.S., but it's still early. And let's check out here. So we got a lot going on. That's right, folks. Where I live, I'm in a frost advisory, and it's May 12th. But Dallas, San Antonio, Oklahoma City to face nasty, severe weather. They are monitoring the potential for rounds of flooding, rainfall, and severe weather that are expected to erupt across portions of the plains this weekend into the early part of next week. After a below-average number of tornadoes for the month of April, conditions are coming together for an active severe weather pattern in mid-May. There were just 73 tornadoes reported across the United States in April, well short of the 3-year average for the month of 224. So that's really low for April. May has already put through, though, 100 reports of tornadoes, so that's not good news. We're 12 days in, and we're getting closer to that average, maybe higher. But right now we're seeing lots of chances for severe weather. Tornadoes popping up across the south, mainly this, and that's where the heat is as well, folks. So the energy is there, the upper level disturbances are there, and therefore we're seeing severe weather events across the south and portions of the southwest, almost on a weekly event, maybe twice a week. Friday afternoon into the night, local severe hail is expected, strong winds. Storm max is 70 miles per hour in the green region there from Dodge City all the way to Roswell, New Mexico. And then here we are Friday through Sunday. Check it out. The middle part of our farm belt here, Kansas City, Omaha, Peoria. We're going to see thunderstorms, heavy rainfall, flash flooding, local severe thunderstorms as well. And look at this. An AccuWeather max of 8 inches. So flooding across the south, getting a little bit of a break. Now it looks like the Farm Belt could be seeing quite a bit of precipitation, and that's not good either. We really need more just heat over here. The rain is good, though, because there is a lot of dry conditions throughout Nebraska and parts of Kansas. So I'm not saying it's all bad, but cooler temperatures to the north and most of Iowa, Minnesota, Wisconsin, and northern Illinois and Indiana also moving in over the weekend into early next week. Like I said, there is the highest risk for severe weather early next week. Again, it's like another round coming through the south, and they just keep getting punch after punch after punch. So, again, we'll go over this a little bit more here in the GFS outlook, but also just checking this out here for the farmers. and I'll show you in the GFS too, in the crop report. Conditions are okay now, but we're starting to see some challenging patterns develop, and it is going to be interesting for the rest of the month of May. Also, we are starting to see high pressure dominating in the northeast, keeping things a little bit cooler. There is a warm-up on the way, but I've noticed that keeping that high pressure, and it's keeping this severe weather, thankfully, it's blocking the south from getting any more severe weather for a little while. So it's kind of giving you guys a break. But now, the central part, Ohio Valley, you guys will start seeing a little bit more in the rain action before the severe weather returns to the south again early next week. So a few days of no storms. It's been busy down there in the south. That's probably good news for all of you. All right, so I want to touch base on two things. First of all, this article here on Watchers.news came out a couple days ago. Scientists link rapid warming in the northwest Atlantic shelf to migrating Gulf Stream. Now, the migrating Gulf Stream, what does that mean? That means the Gulf Stream is pushing warmer water further out. There is an abundance. Obviously, it's pulling from the Gulf and bringing it up into the Arctic. Now, the significance of this is that you hear about the polar bears up north. They're losing their homes. Al Gore has got a swimming pool at the North Pole now, and there's no ice up there, and the sudden impact warming events freaks everybody out. And they're like, "Oh, I told you, global warming. Look at the Arctic, and temperatures were 15 degrees above normal." Now, mind you, normal is negative 25 degrees, but let's not tell anybody that part. Let's not tell anybody that even though your temperatures were 15 degrees warmer than what it usually was in that day, it's still below freezing. But they like to give out that fear of warming, like, "Oh no, it's 15 degrees warmer than usual. Oh, man-made global warming." No. So the Gulf Stream brings up warmer waters also. And these sudden atmospheric warming events probably help support some of that flow as well. But what does this mean? This means that naturally, and this was mentioned in this article a few times, but naturally, warmer water is being extended naturally. Not because of man-made global warming. And it's not even causing problems for the polar bears like the commercials say. Polar bears are fine. We've had a 400% increase in the polar bear population since the 50s. I don't understand how we started with somewhere around 5,000 when they started keeping track. It was like 5,000 polar bears. And then since then, we've jumped up to 31,000. That's the total population now. And then they say that, they're going extinct, they're going away. But there was only 5,500 that we were tracking in the 50s, and now there's over 31,000. That doesn't sound like they're going away. It sounds like they're multiplying, like they're thriving, good for you, polar bears. That must mean the climate's doing just fine. They're finding plenty of food, right? There's plenty of ice up there. I got a treat for you guys, too. Give me a couple days. Actually, maybe, I don't know. I got a treat for you guys, though. It is about Arctic ice, Antarctica ice, a new paper that came out. Mari and I are going through the details. I want to show you that. Would have been good to put in with tonight's main point tonight, but I wanted to review a little bit more. But tonight, I just wanted to bring up this Atlantic shelf thing here, the warming waters that are reaching further out because of the Gulf Stream bringing it to them, not because of man-made global warming. Now, before you guys attack me for posting an article about the sun on Washington Post, we know that the Washington Post basically puts out a lot of left-wing supporting information. In other words, they support Democrats of all kinds, and they don't really show a lot of bipartisan support for the Republican Party. Let's just say that. It's pretty much lopsided. Washington Post is pretty liberal. But I found this interesting. We've already covered this here in the Grand Solar Minimum channel, and many other channels here on YouTube has as well. So this is not new, any new news. But this, to me, is important to see this, folks. As I was telling you about the AccuWeather report, they're trying to sneak it in, get ready for crop problems in Europe. They're sneaking it in. They're trying to warn people about the crop issues that we could be facing. Slowly but surely, MSM is trying to change the narrative. Maybe they're not going to blame it on natural cycles, but they're trying to let you know it's going to happen. And here, the Washington Post puts up an article that says the sun may offer a key to predicting El Nino. Groundbreaking study finds. Groundbreaking. Those are big words. Let's read just a little bit. Check this out. Now there's emerging research to suggest that cosmic rays, or highly charged particles from space, might be the mechanisms that flips the switch between phases. Cosmic rays from outside our solar system, but the number and intensity that reach Earth hinge on the magnetic field of the sun. This is not the paper. This is Washington Post reading the paper and then writing an article about what this paper means to them. Mainstream Washington Post, who usually supports global warming by man, is admitting that highly charged particles are a real thing. Cosmic radiation does bombard our atmosphere, and it has to do with the magnetic field of the sun. They go on to talk about the swing between El Nino and La Nina can have dramatic implications on global weather, bringing widespread shifts in precipitation and changes in temperatures that can be problematic for vulnerable populations and have massive economic effects. Guys, when I see this, it gets better. A paper recently published in the journal Earth and Space links terminator events or end of cycle on the sun with the flip of switch between El Nino and La Nina. The solar magnetic cycle, which is mirrored by fluctuations in the number of sunspots on a solar disk, is made up of roughly 22-year periods. Each span features two maxima and minima each of sunspot frequency and coverage, one of each magnetic polarity lasting roughly 11 years. Sunspots behave like bar magnets. Imagine that the bar magnets rotate 180 degrees every 11 years. So, the Washington Post, and they break it down, how the relationship works. Look at this. The connection to their proposal solar weather connection lies in the terminator events. And again, they go over the solar cycles, and they get a little bit more in depth about solar minimum and magnetic connections. And look at this. They even show the prediction here. At Washington Post, this is a NASA chart, apparently. Consensus prediction. There it is, folks. Let's blow this up. This says at the top of the paper, or this chart, consensus prediction. We all know we don't like that word consensus because there really isn't a consensus when it comes to science. But when you and me and everybody else knows that this solar cycle is going to be slightly weaker or maybe the same strength, I believe now by looking at the fact that NASA's saying 115, I'm going to subtract 16 off of that. And that's going to be our number. Smooth sunspot number of 99 for solar cycle 25. That's my prediction. 99. But the mainstream media, Washington Post, the supporter of AOC, the supporter of the climate crisis that we're in, now they are acknowledging solar forcing and solar minimums and sunspot cycles and cooling and how that El Nino and La Nina events have huge implications on our global climate. So, if this paper, this study, and this article is suggesting that the sun contains the key of El Nino and La Nina, that means the sun changes the climate. This has nothing to do with CO2. This has nothing to do with burning fossil fuels. We've discussed this. We're not a channel of climate deniers. Climate change is real, but it's natural. And solar cycles have everything to do. Look, you can go back and look at a temperature map and see where we had the lower temperatures globally line up with solar minimums and vice versa. Sometimes we get a little delayed effect at the end of a solar cycle after a max, and you see the benefits of having a warmer solar max, as we did in 2014. We saw temperatures, we saw hottest years on records all the way up to 2018, right? We were getting sick of it, and people were like, I thought lower sunspots did this. Well, it has a delay, just like it shows with La Nina. La Nina peaked somewhere around October as far as like temperature drops. But we didn't see the effects from it. I'm sorry, November, December. But we didn't see the effects from La Nina really globally until March and April, at the tail end of that prediction that it was going to get intense as far as temperatures and everything else involved with it. But these are major events. I mean, think about this. The sun is responsible for this weak La Nina that we had just recently. It was weak. It was not very moderate. It was very weak. It barely fit the criteria for a little bit. And look at how chilly it is across the United States still to this day. Some of you have had frost and freeze warnings all week. Some of you in Southwest Ohio. I got my alert set on for my hometown. I can't believe how many times they have frost and freeze warnings. Insane. And it does seem like every year summer gets started a little bit later each year. Cooler Aprils and Mays are prevailing. We ain't got to tell that folks out there in Wyoming who are still seeing snowfall, in the Denver region as well. Folks out there in Europe, Finland, still seeing snowfall across Europe. May 12th. 31 degrees in Pittsburgh this morning. Yeah, it's insane. But here is the Washington Post reporting the truth about solar cycles. Now, the reason why I'm saying this is because the Washington Post wants you to believe everything they report is the truth. And a lot of things they report is garbage. So is this just a trap? Throw us a bone out here in the global cooling community. Oh, you agree with that because it fits your narrative, but you don't agree with the other political stuff. Unfortunately, that's the way it works, I guess. Somebody got upset with me the other day, and they thought I was a Trump supporter because I didn't believe in man-made global warming. I said, what does being Republican or Democrat have anything to do with it? And I'll have you guys know I'm more of a middle person. I'll vote Republican, but I'm more of a middle person. I'm really more right there in the middle. Republicans, Democrats, both are too radical for me right now, both sides. And I know that might turn a few people off, but I'm just telling you the truth. It's right there in the middle for me. So when you go to a website like this, even a person like me who's in the middle sees a lot of garbage and a lot of lies and falsehoods from the Washington Post. So it's interesting to see them post this story because it's getting traction everywhere. This has been, and it makes you wonder, do they understand what they're doing? Do they understand they're unraveling the man-made global warming theory by posting the truth about solar cycles on their website? How are they going to back this up now when they start talking about climate crisis? When they've already acknowledged the introduction to how the global climate changes, ups and downs, all natural. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. So to me, this was either oops, and the editor didn't read this story and they don't understand the real science of solar physics. They just don't understand solar science at all. Oh, I don't know what sunspots are. Whatever. Just put it up. It looks good. It's juicy. It's science stuff. People like that. They just confirmed that the sun controls the climate, warm and cooling. And like I said, I have more on that. Hopefully in the next couple of days I will show you some more information about natural climate change and the paper that I will be referring to. Hopefully I can go over it tomorrow or Friday, but we'll see. Alrighty, so we already went over that. Let's look at the crop reports. Nothing's really changed a lot as far as the last few days. Colorado is down on their plant from last year. They're down 7%. Illinois is ahead. Indiana is right where they should be. Iowa also staying in range. Kansas down just 4%. Kentucky is outpacing themselves from last year, way above their 5-year average. Michigan also doing well. A lot of states are in the green right now. Nebraska, you're at 71%. That's 5% lower than last year at this time. But you're way ahead your 5-year average, which is 57% plant. So corn emerges. We're in the very early stages. Again, you look across the United States, a lot of states are doing all right now. A lot of states are outperforming. It's early. It's surprising, too, honestly. It's very surprising. Now, your questioning could be, why are we only seeing 41% plant right now? And we've seen a lot of inclement weather. So my belief is if we weren't seeing the snow, the rain, the cold, we would probably be smashing some records here as far as early plant goes. But that is probably what is restraining us from having a really good plant season so far, is all this inclement cold that we've seen across the plain states, the Northwest Mountains, the Rockies, the Northern Plains, and near the Great Lakes. But corn is on track to have a decent start so far. Same thing with the soybeans, is doing good. Arkansas, Illinois, definitely up. Iowa, Indiana, the same as they were last year, but they're killing it on their 5-year averages. Iowa's at 30%. 5-year average as far as planted soybeans at this time. They're at 67% right now. That's 37% higher than their 5-year average. And they've done this now the last 2 years. So that number is going to have to start going up. Kansas is outperforming last year's soybean plant percentage. Their 5-year, they're smashing it. They're 15% ahead of that. Kentucky is also another state that's 16% ahead of their 5-year average. Louisiana, even though they are getting bombarded with storms down there in the south, they are actually showing the numbers that they're struggling. 40% have been planted soybeans so far. Last year, this time, it was 66%, okay? And 64% planted of soybeans is the average. Louisiana is in the deep south. They've seen a lot of rain, a lot of flooding, a lot of severe weather. So the numbers are showing true that they are hurting a little bit here as they are behind so far. Michigan outperforming. Mississippi, believe it or not, is doing well. Missouri is doing okay, slightly ahead of their 5-year average. Nebraska is a little behind on their planting of soybeans when it comes to year over year, but their 5-year average, they're crushing it. They're almost doubled what they've done from the last 5 years. So North Carolina also on the right track. So lots of states on track to have a decent start to their, as far as their grow season. We'll see what happens as we move through the rest of the year. Sorry about this. I don't know why they do this. It's every time. So check out that, folks. Suitable days working in the field. This is week ending May 9th. Ohio, 1.1. So we're already having trouble getting into the fields here in Ohio. Look at New York, 2 days. The Northeast, the Great Lakes. It's a good thing Kentucky, Indiana, Illinois, and Tennessee are all having decent starts to their planting season, because those numbers are going to reflect a little bit different next week. Even in the deep south, we could see a little bit lower numbers, but we're seeing 3.5 days, 3.7. due to all this rain, mud. You can't get out in this. And then you got decent conditions across the plain states and in the northern plain states for farming. But that could change. Like I said, we've got a system to talk about. And here's why I think it could change as far as suitable days in the field, especially for this region right here, Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, Kentucky. I really think what we saw earlier, the storms that are going to be moving this way, how much rain we're going to see. The Northeast, though, there is a feature here, a high-pressure system that is protecting the South from severe weather, as it looks like it's almost building the storms up across the United States this way from the high pressure that's dominant down here. And I'll show you right now in the GFS outlook. There's your high pressure right now, and it's going to churn the rest of this out to the Atlantic. So let's put it in motion. This is tomorrow. High pressure dominating across the Great Lakes, keeping everybody dry for the Great Lakes all the way to the Gulf of Mexico. Parts of the Northeast, Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine, could see some showers. But again, this high pressure is going to dominate. This is going to bring some gorgeous weather. Nothing too crazy or hot, but gorgeous weather over the next several days. This high pressure is still dominating by Friday, May 14th. Still in the Great Lakes. It's being pushed by a little bit by a low pressure system. And then this high pressure finally escapes off to the, or tries to escape off the East Coast. But this is where we start seeing the storms building up through here. And as we move forward, you're going to see high pressure continue to hang out here, and it's going to be the reason why these storms are driving this way and heading out. And it's going to form a little barrier for the South and give us a few days of rest here. So we're already talking Sunday, May 16th, no action, thankfully. Let's put this in motion. There you see the line of storms that develops across parts of Missouri, Iowa, Illinois, Indiana. There's my concern. We already have low work days in the fields. Are we about to see that go down next week? Let's check out this feature and see what it's doing. This is Monday of next week, May 17th. And this system, it's not one but two decent chances of rain across that region before it reloads on Tuesday and pushes more rain across Oklahoma into Missouri. Watch this feature, folks. Pushing it into the Mississippi Valley as well, Mississippi River Valley. But look at that. This is where we think also next week, Tuesday into Wednesday, we could see some very severe weather here. We already talked about this early in the broadcast. Oklahoma, Texas, this is what we were talking about. And, of course, Kansas City, we could see some pretty big storms. Oh, look at this. Even snow across the Northwest on May 19th. Still seeing snow. But there's more of that rain moving across the Ohio Valley into Kentucky, Tennessee, and finally by May 20th. So just about 7 straight days, we will not see a lot of severe weather across the South. Now look at this pattern, though. High pressure is also beginning to fade away on the Northeast. It's being pushed further out to sea. So as you notice, that high pressure is being moved out. This line of showers is starting to move a little further in the southeastern part of the United States. But still, a little bit of a bubble protection for the far southeast of the United States on May 22nd. But check out what GFS thinks could happen. Lots of rain developing from Houston to Dallas to Amarillo. Floods possible for the 3rd week of May in Texas. Lots of moisture streaming up from the Gulf and going all the way around to the Great Lakes here over in the Canadian border. Thankfully, that colder air stays up here. That's all snow up here, but this is going to remain rain. But again, high pressure is creating this little force field here for the southeast, the deep south and the southeast, and they need that break. They need that break. We've had lots of moisture, lots of rain down here, lots of flooding. So this is all the way out to May 23rd. Finally, high pressure breaks out to the Atlantic, to the middle, but then another round of high pressure appears to be settling across the Northeast once again by May 25th. Now, this time the storm lines look like they've advanced a little bit further east, but still we might see this high pressure system provide a little bit more time and protection from storms later this month. And as you see this high pressure spinning off to the northeast here, That rain stays across the heart of Iowa, Missouri, Illinois, Indiana, Ohio Valley, racing up through Louisiana, but not really touching Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina. So once again, feature number 3 could be moving through the same areas that continue to see the heaviest of the rains. And why is that? This high pressure is dominating. This leaves, there's another high pressure ready to take over. Right now, it is providing some relief from these states, from all the severe weather, the heavy rain, and the tornadic activity that we have seen in the beginning of May. So, to me, when I look at the long-term forecast and I see all this high pressure causing all these really odd pattern shifts, and that's what this is. We've been seeing a plethora of storms throughout the south, across the panhandle of Florida, Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina, and now this high-pressure dome is literally hanging out for the next 2 to 3 weeks and protecting the southern parts of Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina, and Florida, almost putting you guys in a force field of maybe keeping that severe weather away, which could hinder the prediction center of the AccuWeather, where they think that May is going to be closer to average on tornadoes. Let's go back and take a little bit closer look and see how many possibilities of severe weather are we looking at according to GFS. So here's Thursday. Next chance for some slight severe weather, Sunday, May 16th across southern Missouri. And then we get some action here in southern Texas. That's not very much. Showers develop across eastern Kansas into Missouri. There's a chance for severe weather, and that is on May 17th. So 1, 2 feature right behind that goes through Kansas. There's 2 possibilities for severe outbreak. Also Oklahoma, southern Kansas, there's 3. And then a 4th system, that one looks a little more promising. This is all by Wednesday of next week. So 7 days out, we've got 4 severe weather systems that could produce tornadic events. Event number 5 happens next Thursday. There's number 6 next Friday. There's number 7 later in Friday into Saturday. And number 8 doesn't really, well, again, this far out, we don't really look too much into that. So altogether, right there is number 8. So we have a potential of 8 systems or more that could produce tornadic activity. But for the most part, it's not going to continue to batter the South over and over and over and over and over and over again. There has been a pattern shift, and we need to keep our eyes on the Midwest, Iowa, Missouri, Arkansas, Kansas, Oklahoma, parts of northeast Texas and northern Texas, and also keep our eyes out here in the Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, right across the middle here, folks. I-70, all along I-70 and northward, possibly somewhat in the southwest region of Ohio, across Indianapolis, and parts of southern and southwest Illinois also could be another area that could see a couple of outbreaks as well here in the next couple weeks. But other than that, guys, we do start to see potential warming by the end of this month. Again, things are looking better on the 13th. Temperatures starting to warm up across most of the United States. You see some 50s and 60s still parts of, Nebraska. Come on, Matt. I know you're hating this. 62 degrees for a daytime high on Sunday. 57 on Monday. Yikes. Get out of here, man. You can't farm in that kind of weather. Nothing's going to grow. Cincinnati, Ohio, May 17th. 58 degrees for a high. Wow. Heat is building up across the south and across the northern plains. Saints, watch this. We actually look like, all right, May's looking a lot better. And then check out what happens here in the northwest. Watch this cold front. This is May 21st. Look at that. Talk about heat suppression by the 23rd. Now, this is going to be a hot day for most of us. This is what we called a tease and freeze. Thankfully, not so much on the freeze. The ridge and fridge, not so much, but cooler air coming in after seeing some nice warm weather. It was all just a dream as May 25th brings us chillier temperatures for daytime highs. Look at that. Overnight lows back into the 30s in upstate New York, parts of Vermont, New Hampshire. BS. May 25th. You'll turn your heat on May 25th if you live in the Northeast. Possibly in Ohio as well. Indiana, Michigan, Pittsburgh as well. Look at this. Daytime highs on May 25th. 62 across parts of Kansas. 58 in South Dakota. The southeastern part of North. 53 across Iowa. I mean, mid-50s in May 25th. So the rain's going to pick up. And coincidentally, the temperatures are staying below normal? No. More cloud coverage, more moisture equals cooler temperatures. Now, where do we get more cloud coverage for? Highly charged particles? Cosmic rays? Cloud nucleation? Intermixing with particulates already in the atmosphere? I wonder. It's not a coincidence, folks. It's the science. It's why we're seeing this. Going into June, temperatures still in the 40s and 60s in some areas for daytime highs, and struggling still. May 28th to get the act together here. Look, 67 degrees by the end of the month in parts of Nebraska, 61 across central Kansas. We'll revisit the 80s on May 28th. So should we. But it looks like to me we got another cold front that could push down once again and create cooler temperatures for the month. First day of June, who knows? A little bit warmer in the El Nino 3-4 region. Not really. The graph here shows that we've cooled since the last time we broadcasted, which was 7 days ago. Guys, and David Birch agrees as well. A lot of other scientists are watching this too. We could be witnessing the ENSO here in neutral for a while and not going back into a El Nino. Staying neutral. Maybe knocking on the door of an El Nino, but not quite making it. And then as we get into the next part of the cycle, we'll see another La Nina. And I can only imagine it will be stronger, so people will be confused because the solar max will be it'll be right around close to the next solar max, and everyone's like, why is it so cold? I thought solar max meant, Well, no, La Nina. Just like we saw back in 15 as well. 14, it was a solar max, and the effects of a La Nina blasted this polar vortex into most of the United States, negative 20 degrees for the highs in parts of Ohio. I remember like it was yesterday. I've never felt that cold before. But again, folks, I'm only just reporting the raw data. I'm not reading you rhetoric. I'm not reading you any kind of political talking head stuff. Everything that I bring you, you can look up for yourself. You can Google it. You can go to spaceweather.com and monitor the stuff. You can go to thegrandsolarminimum.com. We also have, instruments that SDO uses, spaceweather.com uses. There's nothing obscure from what we're using. SolarHam, there's nothing different. But you can look for yourselves. We have the resources here: Volcano Discovery, Volcano World, USGS, Buoy Center, Volcano Live, Volcano Warnings, or resources. We got the glossary, the weekly the crop report, also commodity futures, commodity prices, if you want to check that kind of thing out too. Climate blog. Well, this is some websites that we trust. Climate Depot, Mark Morano, David Dilley, Dr. Roy Spencer, No Trick Zone, Global Cooling Papers, which there's a ton there. Per Strandberg at the Cooling News, Piers Corbin, Real Climate Science, Tony Heller, and What's Up With That with Anthony Watts. Again, we list all this stuff on our website so you guys can find this information a little easier instead of having to scour all over the search engines for information, because you're not going to find, mainstream is not going to offer it up to you on a platter. You're going to have to dig for it. So we're continuing working on the website to add more of these resources and get you guys the info. Basically, we want you to see it in the raw form, and you can decide for yourself. I hopefully am communicating this to you guys where you can understand it, and it makes a little bit of sense in layman's terms. But there are more technical ways of learning about this, and you could read the papers for yourself, not just the abstracts, but the actual papers. All right, guys, that's going to do it for me tonight. Thank you for tuning in to the Grand Solar Minimum channel. I want to say a couple hellos out there to Richard Davidson out there. Matt Bros, I saw you earlier. Jerome from upstate. Arnold Schmidt, always a pleasure to have you out here as well. Wendy, good to see you tonight. Also, lots of new faces out there. Walamazoo, hello. Hello, hello. Knife Collector was here earlier. Nancy, good to see you. Jake Green, how's it going? Mohammed, glad to see you, sir. Hopefully you are doing well. I've been following your post as well on Facebook. And many, many others here who tune in on a regular basis. We appreciate your support. Guys, don't forget YouTube has a membership feature where you could be a paid member of our channel for $1.99 a month. That's just a way of saying, hey, thanks, guys, for doing what you're doing. Just consider it like your $2 tip every month. You know, that's not asking much. $2 tip a month if you like what you see. We are going to increase the schedule. I know I've been saying that for months. The project that we're working on is almost complete, and we are very, very close to start doing a Monday through Friday broadcast routine here in the very near future. I promise you that's what all these short weeks are for, is because we are working and trying to get this wrapped up. So soon we will see more content. And look, there's a lot to talk about. A lot's been happening. It's been hard for me to stay away, folks, to be honest with you, because there's so much to talk about almost every single day when it comes to the climate and Grand Solar Minimum. All right, we hope everyone has a great evening. Be safe out there, and we will talk soon.
Do you like this show? Give us a thumbs up. Want to support us more? Share to your favorite social media platform. Buy a t-shirt or become a Patreon. All links are in the description below.